Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you are doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. All right, we are returning to the world of science fiction and to the world of Warhammer 40k, and today we are going to be taking a little look at Space Hulk Death Angel, the card game. And this is from Fantasy Flight Games, so this was made a while ago when Fantasy Flight had the license to make some Warhammer 40k stuff. And this game was designed by Corey Konetska. So this says Purge the Xenos Threat. Incoming transmission, level red. Blood Angels mission briefing 7362-1. Brother Sergeant Lorenzo. Assemble your Terminator squad and assault Space Hulk. Sin of Damnation via boarding torpedo. Extreme Gene Stealer infestation aboard. Your object is to destroy the forward launch control room. Expect heavy resistance. Estimates 44% chance of mission success with 86% squad casualties. End transmission. Space Hulk Death Angel, the card game, is a cooperative game in which 1 to 6 players control a squad of Terminator Space Marines venturing deep into a massive Space Hulk. Through teamwork, bravery, and raw firepower, and quite a bit of luck, players must survive against overwhelming odds to eliminate a Gene Stealer threat. Failure is not an option, but it will be a likely outcome. So yes, this game does a really good job of simulating a lot of the good qualities of the actual Space Hulk game. And it does so with just a few little decks of cards that all fit in a small box. I find this game really fun. It's very intense. It has that kind of tense feeling that I get when I play Space Hulk. But Space Hulk, even though there are some solo variants, I never get the same sense when of the tension when I play Space Hulk solo, even with one of the good variants. But this game, Space Hulk Death Angel, the card game, gives me that same kind of feeling. And it also adds a lot more to the Space Hulk formula. I think this is a really good example of taking a large game, shrinking it down, but also adding a lot of qualities to it that make it really stand on its own. And yeah, this is a really cool game, a really neat way to simulate a dungeon or corridor crawl within the confines of a small box. So as I said earlier, this game is quite challenging. I have not won very often, and famously, or infamously, depending on how you feel, there is a strategy guide that was available on BGG, and you can still find it. You can still find a link to the Google Doc in one of the forums there. But the strategy guide for this little game that fits in this tiny little box, was 180 pages of incredibly detailed strategy and tactics on how to win the game. Now, the designer or the writer of the strategy guide, I believe he claims that he has about a 90% win ratio with this game. And that, to me, seems insane. He must be like an ultimate gamer. I don't have anywhere near that, nor do I care, though, to read the 180-page strategy guide. That just seems like a lot. However, at the end of that strategy guide, there is one page that I find really, really useful. And this is difficulty levels for solo play. So he has gone through and he looks in great, great detail on the composition of the various teams of the Deathwing Marines, which are the Terminator Marines, which you are going to be building your squad with. And he has put together groupings for difficulty levels from hell down to cakewalk. And if you want to play a certain difficulty level, he suggests playing a certain combination of Space Marines in your squad. So me being me, I am playing this game now on Cakewalk mode, which uses the red Marines, the purple, and the gray. And I'm finding that, yes, it is easier playing this combination of Space Marines. So how does this game work and what makes it so good? So if you are familiar with Space Hulk, or I guess if you are not familiar with Space Hulk, you know, and you should know, that this is a game about sending in a group of Space Marines into Space Hulks, into desolate, wasted space vessels that are floating out throughout the cosmos. These vessels have been overtaken by cults of gene stealers of these aliens who use them to breed and to overrun the Imperium of mankind, basically. And the Space Marines, the Terminator Space Marines, or Space Marines in Terminator armor, they go into these Space Hulks on search and destroy missions to destroy the alien forces. Basically, it's Aliens, the board game. And this takes that and simulates it in a card game. So the board game was all about traveling down these narrow corridors. And the board game was, it's a 2-player game where one player plays the Gene Stealers, the aliens, and one player plays the Space Marines. This game is fully co-op, so it's fully soloable, and it does a really good job of simulating that tension. And the tension and the excitement is the best thing about Space Hulk, and this really does capture it. So you are going to be playing a group of Marines. The main way to play solo is to play with 6 different Marines. You can play with more. I think you can play with up to 12 if you want to play with all of them. And you're going to put them in a battle line. And this battle line here, it's randomly set up at the beginning of the game. And this kind of simulates their marching order as they are marching down these narrow corridors. Each of the Marines has a facing. While they are marching down this corridor, they can be facing to the right or to the left. And then depending on how the certain location is set up, you might have different types of terrain, such as ventilation ducts or dark corners, or you might have artifacts or control panels, maybe a Promethium tank or a spore chimney. And those terrain locations, those terrain cards are going to be set up on different sides of the battle line. These terrain locations, or these terrain cards, that's where the Gene Stealers are going to be spawning from. At the end of every phase, you spawn a certain number of Gene Stealers from your blip piles, and the main goal of the game is to get rid of all of the Gene Stealers in the blip piles so that you can move through a deck of randomly constructed location cards, trying to get to a last location and clean out all the Gene Stealers at that location. If you do that, and you have one Space Marine who is still alive, you have won the game. So what this game does, I think that's interesting, is in the positioning and the phasing, because you really do need to think about how your Space Marines are going to be covering each other, because they will have different ranges for attacks. They will have a range of 0 possibly, and that is they can only attack Gene Stealers on their spot. A range of 1 where you can attack 1 away, 2, 3, and so on. I think one of the reasons why this particular combination of purple, red, and gray Marines is so strong is that you have a lot of range. There are no 0 range Space Marines in this configuration. There are 0 range Space Marines in the yellow and the green. And as a matter of fact, this combination here, blue, yellow, and green, is considered a nightmare difficulty level according to the author of the strategy guide. So once you have decided on your Marines, once you have placed them out in their battle line, then you're going to take a look at their deck of cards. Each of the colors of Space Marine is going to have 3 cards: a support card, a move and activate card, and an attack card. And each of the different Marines in the groupings, each of their cards is slightly different. So each of their support cards is different, each of their move and activate cards is different, and each of their attack cards is different, giving them some variety. Usually it'll say like one of the Marines in that grouping, there are 2 Marines per color. One will get a bonus Both can take the action, but one will get a bonus. That is a common difference. But you have things like support. All the Marines have a support action. You can take that action and you can add a support token to one of the Marines. A support token usually gives that Marine an ability to re-roll a die when they are attacking or defending. And this die, let me tell you, this D6 right here, you are going to hate this D6. Whenever you want to make an attack against a Space Marine or against a Genestealer, you have to be in range. You have to be facing that Genestealer. So right now, Brother Scipio, he is facing to the left. He is facing this ventilation duct, but there's a Genestealer flanking him. So he could not attack this Genestealer unless he did some kind of movement where he could turn and he could face the other direction. I really like that because it does simulate the fact that these Space Marines in these Terminator armor, this Terminator armor is really bulky. And that's one thing I always liked about the board game was these things are they're like little mini walking tanks, just kind of like clunking down these metal corridors. They are not agile. These things, they stand in corridors, they block way, and they slice, they dice, they punch, and they blast, and they flamethrow anything that is in line of sight of them. And so I think this kind of marching order and this facing and this flanking really does a great job of simulating how big and bulky these Terminator Space Marines are. But if I was facing in this direction and I took my attack action with my gray Space Marines, I would roll this die, and I have to roll a skull in order to defeat one Genestealer card in a swarm. A swarm of Genestealers is a stack of cards at a certain location. There's a 50% chance that you're going to damage an enemy. There's only 3 skulls on this D6. The numbers are used for defense. So when the Genestealers are attacking you, you have to roll a number above the number of cards in that swarm. And the numbers range from 0 to 5. So if this Genestealer was attacking Brother Scipio, I would roll a die, and I would need at least a 2 in order to survive. If I rolled a 0 or a 1, he is instantly dead. Okay, these Marines, they have no hit points. This is close quarters combat of the most dangerous kind. One hit, you are completely overrun by these Genestealers, and you get squashed. So that's why these support actions are very valuable, because you have this limited supply of support tokens, and you can place those whenever you play that support action. You can take one of those tokens and you can assign that to a Space Marine, and that will allow them to re-roll an attack die or a defense die. So very, very useful. These can also be used for other things. For instance, on these doored terrains, you can place support tokens on these cards, and then you can use these doors to kind of like trap Genestealers behind you for when you move from one new location to the next. It's a way to get, if you can get the Genestealers all behind this door and close the door and seal the door, and then they probably do some kind of barricading with, I don't know, some kind of plasma rifle or some kind of plasma pick or something. They seal the door, locking the Genestealers behind it, trapping them. I really do like that. That is super cool. And then each of the colored Marines will also have a move and activate card. And a movement card, when you move up or down in formation, or you can change your facing as well. So that is a way for you to reposition. And it is very important to position and face your Space Marines in the right direction, because you really want to be covering. Brother Leon here with his assault cannon, he has a range of 3. So you kind of want him somewhere in the middle so he can attack anywhere in front of him or anywhere behind him. And the red attack card is really powerful because Brother Leon can attack 3 times instead of just once. So Brother Leon, with some lucky rolls, he can take out 3 Genestealer cards in a single attack turn. That is really powerful. And then also the activate, that lets you activate certain special bonuses that appear on these terrain cards. About half of the terrain cards are just normal, they have no bonus, and other ones will have certain bonuses like this. And you will be able to activate those terrain cards using that move and activate. And then finally, each of the Marines does have an attack card. When you play this attack card, each of your Marines in that color can attack Space Marines that are in their slot or within range and in their type of facing. However, the difficulty of the game comes in not just knowing how to position, not just knowing how to face, but you play these cards, and once you play them, they are out of that round until all of the cards have been played. So you can only attack, one time in a round. And then next time you might have to move and activate or maybe support. So just knowing when to play these cards, knowing when the optimal time to play these cards, knowing when to support and when to move, it becomes a very, very grueling choice that you're going to be making each and every turn. I really like this action selection mechanism, and I kind of wish that maybe there was something kind of like this more in the Space Hulk board game. I think that would be really cool. So after all of your Space Marines, after you've taken your turn, then the Gene Stealers go. Any Gene Stealer that is out on the board is going to attack, and then the Space Marines are going to have to defend. And then after that, you're going to go into this event phase. And this is your Monkey Wrench deck, basically. This is a deck of random events that are going to happen. And these are either going to be good or bad, depending on, I think there's about probably half good, half bad. Some of them will help the Space Marines. Some of them will help the Gene Stealers. Something like full scan, choose a blip pile, discard the top card. These are the blip piles that come in whenever you face a new location. You're going to be assigning the left side and the right side a certain number of blip piles. And these are like the blip tokens that will come out in Space Hulk. And then these will have certain Gene Stealers that are going to be coming out with certain symbols here. And those symbols are only used for when the Gene Stealers need to move. So at the end of the event phase, or during part of the event phase, you will also spawn new Gene Stealer swarms. And those are going to be spawned according to the color of the terrain. So if you had this card here, you would spawn a large spawn on the red terrain and a weak spawn on the green terrain, which would be the corridor down here. And the number of Gene Stealers spawned is determined by this first location card that you are going to select for the number of Space Marines that you are playing with. So this is kind of how the game scales. It scales by having a fewer number of locations for a lower number of Space Marines and a fewer number of spawns for fewer Space Marines. But the way the Gene Stealers move is any Gene Stealer swarm that has that symbol in it will move down the left side, around and right on the upside. And sometimes they will move by simply flanking, where they will flank over to the back side of a Space Marine, thus becoming harder for the Space Marines to hit them. So there is just a lot of really cool stuff about this game. I rarely win, but I almost always have fun playing it. It's a very interesting game. I love the different mechanisms. I love the action selection. Selecting cards and having those cards be removed until they are replenished is one of my favorite mechanisms in a game. It makes for interesting decisions. And I like how the Space Marines feel different. I like how you do have to position them and face them. I like the way that the Gene Stealers come out. I like the different locations. You can definitely tell that this was kind of the ground zero for the Warhammer Quest Adventure card game. And I would like to see more games designed like this. More dungeon crawl games where you aren't actually moving around a board, around a dungeon, but where the movement is simulated. I enjoy this kind of game. It's pretty easy to set up. The rules are not fantastic, but there is a universal head rule summary that is really good. And there are some really good rules tutorials on YouTube. And usually when I'm setting up the game to play and I don't want to read the rules again, I will usually just watch like a little 20-minute tutorial to refresh my memory, and then it all kind of comes back. There were also some expansions made for the game, And these expansions are insanely out of print and super expensive. I only have one mission pack. I believe there were 2 mission packs and also a pack of Marines that you could buy. And these will have new kind of gene stealers that are going to come out to make your life even harder. This one comes with a new type of terrain, a hull breach, and a whole bunch of different locations for you to travel through while you are playing the game. And each of the locations it dictates what kind of terrain you're going to set up. It dictates how many gene stealer blips you're going to have to deal with, and usually will have some kind of special rule that can either make the game harder or easier for you depending on your location. But yeah, the game is also unfortunately out of print and will probably never come back into print. I would love to see, I don't know who has the license for Alien. If they made like an Aliens version, or Fantasy Flight just made kind of like a generic version of this. They could do a Terranoth version of this style of marching line dungeon crawl. I think that would be really cool. It doesn't need to be Space Hulk. It doesn't need to be Death Angel. It doesn't need to be a Games Workshop property. The game is strong enough that it can stand on its own. However, coupled with this Space Hulk theme, it's made stronger because of the Space Hulk theme, because it does such a good job of incorporating all of the elements of Space Hulk into a card game, but also adding things that you need because the card game is different than a tactical miniature skirmish game. So, all right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at Space Hulk Death Angel, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.